Do you need to go make this hanging Valentine bag complete with buttons and all? Let's go. Starting with 4 pieces of fabric, 10 inches by 12 inches. Now I'm using the same fabric for the outside and the inside. If you wanted to do your lining a different color, then you would use 2 pieces of fabric for the outside and 2 pieces of fabric for your lining. These pieces of fabric are 10 inches wide and 12 inches long. And then I have 4 pieces of fabric for my straps. They're 2 inches wide by 10 inches long. I have a piece for the front and the back of each strap. Now my straps are exactly the same. If you want your straps to be different, you'll have 1 piece of fabric for the front and 1 piece of fabric for the back. 2 inches by 10 inches. And then I have 2 pieces of fabric for the flap that are 10 inches by 9 inches. Now, I rounded the bottom of mine off. You don't have to. If you want to, just take your square rectangle piece of fabric, fold it in half, and trim the corner off. And I used patchwork for one side of mine, but you don't have to use patchwork. You can just use regular fabric, and that would be precious too. First thing I'm going to do is take my 2 pieces for my flap. They are 9 inches by 10 inches. And I'm going to lay the lining, my lining piece, but it doesn't really matter which piece you use, face up. The front piece face down. I'm going to sew all the way around here. I'm not going to sew the top because I want to be able to turn it right side out. If you're a pinner or a clipper, this is where you would want to pin and clip. I'm going to sew this with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to get the 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. Remember, we don't look at our needle. We watch our fabric and our presser foot. Back stitching when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. I made 11 of these, 1 for each person in my little ladies classroom. Now, we only have 11. If there were 30, I don't know. I probably still would have made 30. But they're so cute, y'all, and they can use them over and over. Now, I'm going to take my straps and I'm going to put them pretty side to pretty side. Pretty side to pretty side. And we're going to sew up, across, and down. We're going to leave one end open so we can turn our strap. We're going to do that to both straps. 1/4 inch seam, straight stitch, back stitch when you start and when you stop. Easy peasy. This is a super easy beginner project. It has a lot of steps, but none of them are hard. It's all straight stitches and goes together pretty easily. And it's super impressive when it's finished. So make one for your little person, or 7, or 30, but whatever you make. Be sure to email me a photo to hometownquiltcompany@gmail.com. I want to see, and so does everybody else. Show and tell is our favorite. Now, I'm going to take my 2 exterior pieces. Now, my interior and exterior are the same, so if yours are different, then your outer fabric you're going to take and you're going to sew down, across, and back up. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitch when you start and when you stop. This would be precious if you use different fabrics. I chose to use the same because I really wanted my patchwork to be the star of the show. Now we're going to take our 2 pieces of lining fabric. We're going to put those pretty side to pretty side. Pretty side to pretty side. And you're going to sew same, just like you did the front piece. You're going to sew down, across, and back up, except we want to leave a hole. We need to leave a hole so we can turn our entire bag right side out when we're finished, okay? So you're going to sew, stop, come down here, sew, sew, sew. So you're going to sew everything except for this, and of course, don't sew the top shut. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitch when you start and when you stop. My patchwork is 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. I just sewed them together until I had a piece that was roughly 10 by 10, and then I trimmed it down to 9 by 10, 1/2 inch on each side. And I did that when I curved the corners. I want to box my corners just a little tiny bit so it pushes out. So I'm only going to do them maybe like 1.5 inches, but I'm not measuring mine. I want you to measure yours if you want to. I'm going to show you how to do it. So put your finger in the corner. And after you have it in there, then you're going to line up these 2 seams. The seam on the front and the seam on the back. And I'm going to come down about maybe like this far, 1 inch or 1.5 inches, and sew straight across. And then I'm going to do the same thing to all of my corners, to both corners on the lining and both corners on the front of the bag. I wanted to do this because I just wanted to do it, but if this is intimidating at all, skip it. You do not have to do this step, and your bag will be just as precious, I promise. If you want to mark your corners, when you fold them together and make your seams meet, draw a line across, sew directly on that line, and then after you've sewn it, clip off the excess. Easy peasy. I pushed my corners in, I matched up my seams, I sewed across, and then I snipped off the excess. And look how cute. We have boxed corners on the bottom of our bag. Now, we're going to take our flap and both straps and turn them right side out. I have my flap turned right side out, one strap. I'm going to turn my second strap right side out. I'm going to go iron mine, you go iron yours, and I'll meet you right back here. I'm back. Now we're going to top stitch our straps and our flap. The flap, I'm just top stitching around. I'm not going over this piece that's not sewn. Same with the straps. I'm just going over 3 sides because this is going to be down in the bag, so I'm not going to worry about that either. When I say top stitch, I just mean a straight stitch sewing closer to the edge of your fabric. Nothing special. I didn't do a lot of top stitching when I first began to sew because it was an extra step, didn't really seem necessary, and I wasn't interested. And I'm not giving y'all extra steps, I promise, because I don't like the extra steps. Obviously, I'm not pinning or marking anything, but when I tell y'all to top stitch, do it. It makes all the difference in the world. Takes your project from homemade to handmade. I'm gonna take my line and turn it right side out. Then I'm going to lay the front of my bag face up on it. I'm going to center it in between the 2 seams. You can get a ruler and measure if you want to. Y'all know me, and I'm not. And then I'm going to take my straps and lay those on top of it. Just like that. I'm going to clip it, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it inside the front of my bag. So we have pretty side to pretty side, okay? We have lining, flap, straps, exterior fabric. The only thing I'm really concerned about is making sure my side seams line up. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Y'all know I eyeballed the placement of the flap and the placement of the straps, but obviously you can get a ruler if you want to. Now, I'm gonna sew all the way around. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. Back stitching when I start and when I stop. One big circle. And we're almost done. After you sew this and pull it out of the hole that you left in the lining, amazing. Now you're gonna reach inside, find the hole that you left in your lining, and turn your bag right side out. Pull it all through that hole. Now we're gonna close our hole up, and we're gonna push our lining down into our bag. Our bag is complete. Well, kind of. We have a precious bag with a pocket right here. So our little lovies can go and collect their Valentines. But what do we do with these straps, right? We're going to put some buttonholes right here, and we're gonna sew some buttons down here. So it'll fold over either way, however you want it to fold, onto your button. Let's do a buttonhole. The first thing you're gonna do is pull off the front of your machine, or go wherever you're storing your buttonhole foot. Mine is in this handy dandy little box. And this is what your buttonhole foot looks like. See that? That's where you put your button, and that's how your sewing machine knows how big to make your buttonhole. I have these buttons, and they say handmade with love on them. So I recommend you get something super cute to go on yours, but whatever you use. So you're gonna slide this piece out. You're gonna take your button, put it in there, and push it back until it's snug. See, I can shake it and my button's not coming out. It's gotta be snug in there. Then you have this little opening on the side. Make sure that's on the outside of your sewing machine, okay? You want it to be on this side of your machine. And down here is this little metal bar. You're going to drop this presser foot. Mine has a little lever in the back. You just push it and the presser foot falls off. Then I'm gonna put this one underneath here. And on that little metal bar, I'm gonna hook it in. Yeah, it's hard to do anything backwards, except make this buttonhole once I get all this together. So I've taken the regular pressure foot off. I put my buttonhole pressure foot on. Now, there's a little thing right here that slides down that nobody knows what it's for. Your buttonhole, that's what it's for. So if you see, it touches the back and the front of the sides, and that tells your machine how big to make your buttonhole. When it touches one side, it starts going in the other direction. So now we're gonna choose a buttonhole setting. My setting is number 94. Now you probably can't see that, but it's number 94, and I knew that because I looked down here on the little guide, my map, as my little ladies call it, on the map, and I found the buttonhole that I wanted, and it said it was 94, so I put my machine on 94. I'm going to make the end of my strap flush with the back of my sewing machine, and I'm going to center it underneath my presser foot, and I'm going to lower my presser foot onto it. All I'm going to do is push the foot pedal. That's it. Watch this. You see it? It's coming forward, and now it's going backwards. That's it. Easy peasy. Buttonholes were so intimidating to me because I didn't understand them, but once I realized how easy they were to do, I was like, all right, that's it. Raise our presser foot, pull our project out, cut our threads off, and you just made your very first buttonhole. Now this is where I wanted mine. You can move yours closer to the end or farther up to the top, whatever it is you want to do. Now I'm going to do the buttonhole on the second strap. I'm going to put my buttons on the back so that my bag goes over like this. But you could put your buttons on the front, or you could put the buttonhole down here and the button on this end, wherever you wanted it. But I guess before we put buttons on, we probably should open our buttonhole up, right? So you've sewn it, and you know what it looks like, but how do you get in it? Handy dandy seam ripper. This is the one that Missouri Star Quilt Company sent us, and y'all, it's amazing. So you take the tip, you put it inside, in between your 2 rows of stitches, and then very gently push. Do not push hard. Guess what? You have a little spy hole or a buttonhole. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with the other side. Okay, we have 2 buttonholes. We're gonna sew our buttons on and hang our bag and see what we've made. We made our bag. I hung one side. Let's hang the other side on a chair. Oh my goodness, y'all. This is so stinking cute. This is gonna be precious for my little ladies' Valentines and your little people's too. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.